Oh no, here we go. Got it. All right then, it's we're streaming now.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Mel.
Thanks, Katie. Well, good evening, community board members, staff, and members of the public. Welcome to this meeting of the Martinborough Community Board. It's great that we are back to face-to-face meetings as much as we possible. But a reminder that Omicron is still very active within our community. We want to protect the most vulnerable people in our community, including our tamariki children and our queer and kaumatua elders. We recommend that everyone wears their masks throughout the meeting, but I will ask just if you can take it off when you are speaking directly, so we can hear each person clearly. Okay, the emergency exits for the town hall are clearly indicated. If you need to evacuate the building, use any of the emergency exits and head towards Texas Street and assemble in the playground area. Please remain at the assembly area until the building has been confirmed clear. Now, this meeting is being held both in person and using audio-video technology. All members participating via audio-video conference will count for the purpose of the meeting quorum in accordance with clause 25B of Schedule 7 to the Local Government Act 2002. The meeting is being live streamed to Council's YouTube channel. The meeting will also be recorded and, subject to the recording being of suitable quality, will be made available on Council's YouTube channel via a link on Council's website. Is there any extraordinary business that needs to be added to the agenda? Nope. Great. Now, are there any apologies? No, Alex Mason, has our youth representative, has given his apologies. I move that the apology from Alex be received. Thank you, Aidan. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. All those in favour, please raise your hand. The motion is carried. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare with regards to items on this evening's agenda? Great. Then we'll move on to acknowledgements and tributes. Does anyone have any acknowledgements or tributes this evening? Councillor Maynard?
I'd like to acknowledge the passing of our Whaia Niniwa Monroe. She was on the Māori Standing Committee for the South Wairarapa District Council when it was first formed. Her knowledge of the district of the South Wairarapa was immense, especially around the whenua here in the Martinborough area. And you know, our thoughts are with her, all of her family at this time. Yeah, kia ora.
Thank you. Was there anyone else? Yep, Michael.
I'd like to acknowledge Bryce of the Emergencies and Waste Management Plan, who is leading the council up to Taku all the hard work he put towards the council and especially committee work.
Yeah.
Here. Thank you very much, Michael. His work on the Payne estate, right from the word go, I think too, was really highly commendable. Right from our first engagement, really, with him. So yeah, thank you, Michael. Was anyone else had any? Nathan?
It's to acknowledge the passing of Pete Smith, who was a long-term resident of the Cecily Martin Flats 3 weeks ago, and unfortunately I missed it. I missed the notice. He was a long-time worker around the South Wairarapa, as was his family. So,
Oh, thank you very much, Alice. Nathan, did you?
Yeah, I was going to mention Pete as well. Yeah, obviously a long-time resident at the pensioner flats. He was, I guess, he was a little bit like the gatekeeper there. He treated that flat like he owned it. His gardens, his vegetables, everything with Peter was in line. He kept his car clean, he kept the flat clean. He was just he was a top bloke. He was old school. You know, he was always asking, you know, well, how's your family? He had his own health issues, but he was always asking about how anyone else was. He will be greatly missed, and he was a very generous man. So yeah, I just thought to add that as well.
Thanks very much, Nathan. Did anyone else have any acknowledgements or tributes? I would actually just like to make an acknowledgement for the, I guess, very significant achievement of the Kershaw whānau and Connor Kershaw, and the expansion of the new Payne and Kershaw's and the successful opening of its doors for this, I mean, iconic, really generational business within Martinborough. So it was a fantastic opening as well. So yeah, just really like to acknowledge that. Did anyone else have any acknowledgements or tributes, please? No. Well, we'll move on then to public participation. We have one public participant this evening. That's Leah Hawkins for the road naming application, which is on our agenda this evening. Is Leah there?
Yeah.
I don't know, you won't see me. Hello.
Great.
Hi, everyone. I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Do you want me to speak now or wait?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just ask if we can just hold any member discussion until actions from public participation. So the 5 minutes is for the speakers and the members' questions only.
Okay. So I just introduced myself here at Wellington and Leah Hawkins. You through the agenda that you probably will have already. We've got a small subdivision going in on Wild Street, 46 to 48. It is my grandparents' land. My dad now currently owns it. We're looking to get support for the name that we have preferred or selected to go ahead for the naming of the right of way. And I'm hoping that if we can get your support for what we are hoping. And then you'll see that there's the kaupapa behind our reasoning for the preferred name. So a lot about where our family have come from. They originated from Moanaka, it's the Milo area, and came down here in the 50s and 60s to be part of the Martinborough community. And with that, there was a part there where they were bringing together tribes and communities from other areas as well. So it was my grandfather and my grandmother who was about bringing people closer together and community. So they brought other tribes together and they wanted to create a place for everyone, which is how Hawaii was born. We have gone and got further support from the likes of Martinborough. We've spoken to Ngāti Kahungunu, we've spoken to Tapawai, and we've spoken to our Hawaii. All of these boards and committees are in support of George Hawkins' way. So we would like to honour our rangatira. We would like to create a tribute and an honour for the legacy that he's already created in a town that he continues to do through Hawaii, which is resonated through all of our culture in Martinborough that we've got in town, and I'd like to hopefully honour him by doing that and continuing that. So I'm speaking of support.
Oh.
So,
Well, thank you very much, Leah. Did anyone have any questions for Leah? Excuse me. No? Okay. Just thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Pam. Sorry, Councillor Colenso.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just wanted to acknowledge what Leah has said about her grandparents, and I think it's a great way, a great way of continuing the memory of your name and the family that have done. Thanks, ma'am.
That's great. Right, did it, anyone else have any questions or anything for Leah this evening?
no, but it's fine for Leah to stay when we have the discussions with regards to the road naming. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yep, that should be fine.
Do you want me to
So then if we move on then now to any, well, I was going to say any actions from public participation, but actually we have this coming up just very shortly after we confirm our minutes. If Leah is okay to wait for that bit of time, is that all right, Leah?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, yes,
That's all right. Just done the camera.
Okay, well, we will now be considering the minutes from the 19th of May 2022 meeting. Did anyone have any corrections to the minutes? Do I have a mover to move that the minutes of the Martinborough Community Board Meeting held on the 19th of May 2022 be confirmed as a true and correct record?
okay.
Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Do I have a seconder? Thank you very much, Aidan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great, the motion is carried. Now, where are we now? We just moved directly on to item 8.1, which is the proposed naming of a new private road at 46 to 48 Weld Street in Martinborough, which Leah has just spoken to. Do I have a mover to receive the proposed naming of a new private road at 46 to 48 Weld Street in Martinborough? Thank you, Michael. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great, the motion is carried. So does anyone have any comments or questions about the report? Yep, Aidan?
For you, Chair. I'd just like to say that I think reading through the report that we've received, plus reading the letters of support, which Leah and Greg have obtained from the various groups and committees, I think everyone spells out the reasoning and the justification for the name. And I think we should, obviously certainly my support to go forward.
Thank you very much, Aidan. Pam, did you have anything that you'd like to?
No, I just offer my support for the name. Yeah.
I support as well.
Thank you very much. Great. Well, so do I have a mover then?
Can I also just looking at this and the fact that this actually has the backing of Mana Whenua, of Tangata Whenua, of iwi, and all of Tapu, and that is because of the legacy that George Hawkins has left I understand the comments that are in here, and I feel privileged to be sitting here right now, actually talking about this and being able to move this forward.
Kia ora, thank you for that, Councillor Maynard. Nathan and Michael, did either of you want to say or have anything to add?
No, just my full support.
Yeah.
Full support, that's the name. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Fantastic. So do I then have a mover to approve the proposed naming of George Hawkins Way for the proposed private road at 46 to 48 Weld Street, Martinborough?
We'll do that.
Okay, thank you very much. And so then it's also been seconded, but if all those in favour?
Aye.
Please, Nathan. Thank you very much. The motion is carried.
Cool.
Kia ora, Leah. Thank you so much for all your hard work and the application. It's one of the probably most complete roading application namings I've ever seen. So yeah, thank you very much, Leah.
Thank you.
Just moving on to then information reports from the Chief Executive and staff. So these are, we've got the climate change report. So we're now considering this which is agenda item 9.1, climate change report. Do I have a mover to receive the report? Thank you, Aidan. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nathan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great, the motion is carried. Members, are there any questions or comments about the report? I see, sorry, we've got Melanie here. So hi, Melanie. Thanks so much for being available to speak to your climate change report. Did you have anything you'd like to add for us?
Yeah, hi everyone. Excuse my voice, I'm actually sick today, that's why I'm not with you. And I speak in a terrible way. So just to give you a little bit of background around this report, at the moment we are working on a risk and resilience strategy. So this strategy aims to understand all the climate related risks that the council as an organization is facing. It is not aimed at a community level. This work is being done in another project with the Wellington region. So this risk and resilience strategy only is for our organization, and because South Warraba District Council has 5 campgrounds, that's why we looked at the risk on those campgrounds. So this strategy is being developed mainly by myself as a climate change advisor, but there is also a few workshops with elected members and managers. First workshop is really to be able to identify a proper risk rating in front of risk, and the second, sorry for that. And the second workshop is aiming at identifying mitigation measures, and ideally we would like to have at least 1 or more mitigation measures in front of each risk identified. So those workshops are planned in about a week time for the first one and 2 weeks time for the second one, if I'm right. And once the risk and resilience strategy will be all ready, it will go to FAR committee, finance, audit and risk. Finance? Yeah, I think that's what it is. So if we have a quick look at the different maps on the report, on the campground, most of them, because they are located around the shoreline, they are at risk against sea level rise, but also storm surges, so heavy, like strong waves, and and temporary coastal flooding. some of the campgrounds are also at risk against floods from the rivers. So there is a White campground because of the Otere River, and another one which is a North Sora campground because of the I'm sorry, my pronunciation is not good.
River.
River. And also another one is the one located next to Lake Domain Reserve, Lake Wairarapa. And for the two first campgrounds, it's important to understand that the flood risk and then storm surge risk can be combined, because if you have water coming down from the land and then water coming up from the sea, the flood is even worse because there is no way to drain all this water to the sea. So obviously there is other risk on the campgrounds, but they are not massive, such as drought, meaning that plants may be impacted. We may have yellow grass or other things like that. Wildfire is a big one, but we have fire stations a little bit everywhere with a very active fire stations. Heat wave and increased temperature and extreme weather events with wind and rain. So just to explain you how I find all those risks, some of the flood risk are already identified by Greater Wellington. It's publicly available everywhere. It's on our district plan, if I'm right, as well. And other risks, such as the one on the Otere and Afea, it's just there is no scientific data on the floods on those rivers. However, we know that with climate change, we will see more strong, more heavy rains, so possibly more floods, and that's why it needs to be considered. Even though we do not have scientific data on it, it's very important to understand that there is still a risk. So yeah, that's for the report and the risk on those campgrounds. But as I said, it's very much a work in progress because risk and resilience strategy is not finalized yet. We still have those 2 workshops to do because I really want the strategy to be developed in collaboration with elected members and managers to make sure that we have all the brain on the project and we have all the expert knowledge from everyone. Maybe I'm expert in climate change, but I'm not an expert in roading and all the other items the council is working on. So that's why we are doing it all together. So yeah, it will be interesting to see once this strategy is being released, to have a look at it and look at the different mitigation measures that will be identified as well.
Thank you very much, Melanie. Did anyone have any questions? Aidan?
Thanks, Melanie. Just going through, I was wondering about the Lake Ferry campground, which is council owned, but obviously leased. What's the risks there to the Lake Ferry campground on the banks of Lake Ferry?
So yeah, obviously it's not mentioned in this report because you're right, it's leased and it's not, this campground is not managed by us. From memory, because I looked at it, there is obviously a sea level rise issue and also a flood issue from the Lake Onoki. And so yeah, it would be pretty much the same kind of situation as campground located on the Lake Domain Reserve.
Did anyone else have any questions for Melanie? No? Well, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Aidan, sorry.
Sorry, Chair. I was just wondering as to whether this information will be recorded under the coastal development strategy that we've got in the coastal camping bylaws that have been in place for a while, relating to our coastal campgrounds and access to the coastal facilities and amenities.
I wouldn't be able to answer this question. I know that we'll have a work to do to make sure that this strategy speaks to the risk register we have in the council, to make sure that those two documents are speaking the same language, if I can say it this way. But I wouldn't be able to say more about it.
Thanks, Stephen.
Yep. Mayor Alex?
I think Stephen would probably answer the same way. I'll let you speak, Stephen.
Thank you, and good evening, Chair and councillors and Community Board members. It's nice to see you again. Look, as far as I'm aware, the first thing to note is this body of work isn't complete, and we do need to consider risk and mitigation separately before we finalise it. My sense is that we wouldn't amend the bylaw, but that this document will be an important document that lies over all of the policy and operation of the council. So that would be promulgated in that fashion, but obviously it's relevant to the way that we manage all of our coastal areas and areas that border lakes and rivers.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Did anyone else have any questions? Pam, was it? Did you?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, sorry.
I'm fine.
Okay, well, thank you very much then, Melanie, for your time tonight. I really do appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much.
So then we would now be moving on to considering agenda item 9.2, the income and expenditure report. Do I have a mover to receive the draft income and expenditure statement for the period ending 31 May 2022? Thank you, Councillor Colenso. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Aidan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. The motion is carried. Members, were there any questions on this report? Okay. So is everyone satisfied with the income and expenditure report for us to move on?
Yeah.
So, Madam Chair, it looks like if you get back the unused domestic funds, you'll probably end the year with 3,500 underspent. Grants.
Sorry, I missed that.
Sorry. Yeah, if you get back the committed funds that aren't being spent, it looks like we'll have an individual balance of about 3,500. Not bad thing.
Yeah.
Sure, we can't wait to spend it.
Okay.
Beautification fund.
Were there any further questions on the income and expenditure report?
We're just asking about the beautification fund.
Okay.
It's not there.
Not on here.
Yeah, I can follow up on that and send it out. Yeah, sure.
Yes. Okay. Are we able to, so the beautification fund is missing?
Yeah, so I will follow up with finance and send a copy out via email.
Okay, well, fantastic. Thank you very much, Katie. Okay. We'll now move on then to item 9.3, the action items report. Do I have a mover to receive this report? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nathan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great, and the motion is carried. Did members have any updates or questions that they would like to ask in relation to open action items? Um,
731, still work in progress there, so yeah, I will get back onto that.
okay.
But,
No,
yeah,
thanks very much.
so, yeah.
Great.
Madam Chair, are you going to close 317? Or are you going to make a decision going forward about barbecues? Which we believe is,
It is a
which one's
very
that?
expensive one, 3 months.
317.
With the prices given me, the breakdown.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge cost to look after them.
Are we able to get this information then sent out to Jenny Boyne, who was the person who asked us to look into that? So that way she's aware of where the Martinborough Community Board is now sitting with regards to that.
Yep. Does that suit everybody? We could put, if we draft a letter from the community board to Jenny to advise us of that. I mean, are we all satisfied or happy? Can I see a show of hands if everyone is happy to sort of close that off because of on the basis of those figures?
Could we actually leave it open? And I'm not sure how Jenny or one of the team out here may like to take up the cleaning of the barbecue, which would save somebody going out there. So once she knows the cost of it, if that's acceptable to council, somebody out there might take over the living after it, and it would only be then replacement gas bottles that would need to go out on the rural delivery, which they could probably manage. That might be a way of getting around some of the extra cost out here. Sorry, Alex.
Excellent. Aidan?
Because just looking at those, at the costings there, is the 26 weeks times 3 times a week, travel is 9,500, and then that's been added to the 26 weeks times 2 times a week travel, and that's been added together along with the cleaning time and material, so that's totaled up to 22,500, but it wouldn't in fact be that, would it?
It's only going to be one of them, right?
Yeah.
No.
And that's a great suggestion from Pam, because then that will significantly cut down.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. If we look to send an email out just based on the cost and where it sits right now, is that what you mean, Pam? So send something out to Jenny and let her know.
Just let us know that, let Jenny know that officers have said that, but in saying that, I would only put the figure in for the 26 weeks times 2 cleans in the week at Oh, I see what Bryce has done. So 26 weeks, which is half a year, they need to clean it 3 times a week. And then in the winter time, they're only going to clean it 2 times a week. So all of those figures would need to go into Jenny to let her know that these main cost is.
See, it's a hard chore.
Yeah.
You know, that you're committing yourself to, isn't it? Cleanliness and safety.
Do we know what the arrangement is for the toilets yet? The cleaning of the toilets?
Yeah.
I only clean the toilets twice a week and daily over this centre of the Christmas period.
Yeah, so hold on, he says we currently have a cleaner based at Narwee, but he is well past retirement age.
And then he said
And we
we
only
only
clean the toilets twice a week, and daily over the Christmas period.
So I guess if you tie them together, the cost isn't going to be that, is it?
You know, it costs 20,000. The daily costs 10,000. So maybe we need to look at the wording of the letter to go out.
Possibly then, can we hold, because this may be something that we need to look at with regards to putting it at our, like where they were talking about putting it in case there is a risk of it being flooded.
Yeah. Maybe.
It's just I know that area that goes down there, a lot of people tend to have it, but that actually does sometimes get flooded, doesn't it? Like, it's only daytime, like you're not allowed to camp there anymore because it floods.
I mean, Jenny, we originally came to close the fund because she would know how often they'd be used and what's the usage they would get. So maybe we should come back with her and say, how often do you think they should be cleaned?
And where would the best place?
So where would the best place
for a clean toilet?
So instead of closing up, give the option of coming up.
But some will a bit more engagement.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly, they, when it was first mooted, they were looking at putting it by the barbecue table that's out there, the community board funded to go out there. So in that area where the people congregate.
Is that Taurus South?
I'm not sure, I've been out there once, I've been to see it. So it's just right on the coast piece, straight down. But anyway, I think physically having a talk with Jenny would be the best idea.
Yeah.
Rather than let her have an actual personal conversation with her.
Okay. Yep. That will. So, shall we just give Jenny, a call and, or what? Do you want me to put her an email or?
Yeah, still keep it. So, I mean, this was a request that she actually came to the community board.
I think it's
we need to keep it at that level and go back. Like just giving her a buzz on the phone doesn't quite get the same.
Yeah, saying it's a proper letter or a response.
So.
Yeah.
Could it be that you ask the chair to contact Jenny and talk about options and then see if she wants to bring back a different proposal? That way it's going to progress it for the next community board meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
I mean, as long as it's okay for me to, mind you, it's here in this public document anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I was just going to say, but yeah, to share those figures with Jenny. But okay, yep, no, that's no problem at all.
It would be nice to resolve this one way or the other.
Yeah.
At the end of
Yeah.
the trial.
Yeah, it got brought up a year ago almost, so
Yep,
by the next meeting.
that is no problem at all. I'll contact Jenny tomorrow. Okay. Great. That's no problem then. I'll do that. I'll get on to Jenny and come back to everybody. Okay. And is there, it's actually, it got put on there that we were going to hold a workshop to progress town sign entrance, but that that was actually about working with mana whenua, the original one. Yeah, on the Martinborough.
What number, Mel?
I'm sorry, it's up there, 497. It was actually about the entrance to Martinborough. Now there's a whole lot happening around the signs and into all of the towns at the moment anyway, isn't there? So are we looking at, I mean, obviously there's 3 very individual towns, but is council looking to, I don't know, do something a bit cohesion around the town?
Yeah, if I could mention that in the long-term plan, there was funding available for the Māori Standing Committee to consider the entrances to all 3 towns and look at solutions for that come from the Māori Standing Committee to council. And I would like to think it would be part of that conversation as well. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So we've sort of given it to them to look at what, that's a fair call, isn't it, Kim?
Yeah, I think
It's in the,
I don't know if they realise that, I think they need to, I think there needs to be something that they actually work in conjunction with each of the community boards.
Yeah.
But wanting to discuss that in a hurry to talk about the future going forward, I think that's part of that big conversation that's been delayed.
Yeah. So that's coming, so.
Sorry, what's that?
It's just going to be a normal, where Māori Standing Committee can get together to actually discuss all these things, so to put a plan in place.
Okay. Sure then. Awesome. Were there any other updates or movement on any of the actions in the action report?
Madam Chair, 727, did we actually set a date for looking at a workshop for road names or anything like that? Or did we set a date for doing that?
Can I just ask, I mean, I am just wondering, is this something, well, that we do in isolation? Is it the whole thing with the road naming process, as it is at the moment, doesn't actually seem broken, if that makes sense. So, and it gives people an opportunity to put forward a case to us or to the community boards for the naming when they do it. And I just, is there a need for those names, or because for us to come up with them, and really should we be coming up with them in isolation?
I mean, that's a very good matter, Madam Chair. I know this was raised at the Māori Standing Committee, and there was reluctance, given that each particular road is quite situational and unique, and they were unwilling to go down the path of looking at names. I know Greytown has deferred doing this as well for a very similar reason, and I'm not sure the Featherston's considered it. So it might be that the status quo does seem to be working, or you may be going down a dead end, trying to anticipate the Māori Standing Committee's acceptance of particular lines.
That's right. I think if people want to know, to have a list or to get some ideas around history and names and things, it would be quite good even on the application if it just gave them that could refer them to the Māori Standing Committee or those types of things, depending on
community board
or their relevant community board, depending on what they just if somebody wants those things rather than it being personal. Does that make sense? Yeah.
If that's the case, Madam Chair, I think we should close that.
Well, if everyone is in agreement that we don't look at creating a list, and that the current process is working, then absolutely. So can I see a raise of hands for those who are happy to close it? Hands? Yeah, I don't think the process is broken. Is there anyone who doesn't want to close it? Or wants to go? Okay. Oh, well, if everyone's happy then for us to close it, if we could look at closing action 727.
Well, and Madam Chair, just as I add to that, if we had a relatively prescriptive or suggestions, we might not have got George Hawkins Drive, which is a fantastic lane.
Yeah.
So it might have led them away from a better solution.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, let's Aidan.
I'm just wondering, and I don't know what the guidance is that council gives towards people with regards to choosing names and putting the names forward.
So what's the application that they fill out? There's
So there's-
actually a lot of information.
Okay.
So there's a road naming policy, which outlines some guidelines around names that are acceptable and names that are not acceptable. For example, a name cannot be the same name that's used in a different location. Like there's a lot of that sort of policy piece of it. And then I think as long as it meets sort of all of those legislative requirements, then it comes to the relevant community board for consideration. But the application is quite extensive.
Is there any advice in there with regards to seeking advice from Martinborough?
Yeah. And we saw that today, that one around. You see, the only issue I think we've seen was at the Greytown Community Board where they're asked to put in 3 different names, and they put in X Way, X Lane, X Street. Because they said they wanted that name to push back, so come up with some alternatives. That's good. They're taking the piss. So generally it seems to work.
I think the original request for this came through from the planning department, if my memory serves me correctly, and the idea was that the people who made the application for the names didn't have to pick from what we had chosen as names to put forward. They could still put their own names through, but it gave them a list of names of people who had distinguished themselves in the area, or that they were carrying on the theme of for Martinborough on the main towns, like ones that Mr. Martin had been, Venice, New York, that sort of thing, carrying on that same theme, or something like you've got George Hawkins Way, you've got this one for John Reed, that sort of thing, that it's just to cover those people who have done significant amounts for the community or that relates to the community. I think that was the reason that the planning department actually asked if we would like to do that for our respective community boards.
Okay. Thanks, Pam. Okay. Were there so were there any other actions moving? Okay. Well then we'll now move on to item 9.4, the officers' report. Do I have a mover to receive the officers' report? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Cleanso. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great. And the motion is carried. Members, are there any questions on the officers' report? I must say, Stephen, one of the things, it seems so funny quite late in the day, but one of the things that I did find really helpful was being able to look at some of this in context. You know, before it felt like we were way so far behind with the dates and things like that, but actually having the context on how that fits within the meetings that you guys have It makes reading this so much easier. And yeah, so I just do appreciate that from our last meeting as well. Stephen, was there anything in the report that you wanted to talk about in particular?
Thank you, Chair. Look, not really. I think tonight I'll take the documents as read. You will note, though, in the Planning and Environment report, it notes that the several pieces of large, very transformative legislation going to the House at the end of this year. So there is a real cluster of bills to the House all around the same period, October, November. So you've got the Climate Change Adaptation Act, the new RMA bill, the what's called Natural Built Environments Act, something like that. You've also got Bill 2 of the Three Waters legislation going in, which is the huge detailed bill that will have all the regulatory information in it that'll impact councils. So it's a very steady time for those transformative pieces of legislation to be considered by Select Committee and enacted by the House. Otherwise, happy to field any questions on any of these. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Did anyone have any questions for Stephen? Actually, but there, Alex, in the middle there is about the Wellington Regional Leadership Committee. Did you have anything in there that needed to be?
Sure. Which page is that? I can certainly give you an update because I can talk to it.
Are you on, so it's page 47?
Okay, cool.
So it's the,
Oh, yes.
yeah,
So, yeah, water paper. Where that's sitting at the moment is the big things out of that. So I did put this in just to show you what's going on. The Leadership Committee is a group of all councils in the Wellington region, including Horowhenua, and trying to talk with one voice to government to achieve change, much like Auckland does without the merger.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting progress. And sitting on that is the Minister of Transport and the Minister of Housing, Mr. Woods and Wood, and any other advice cabinet minister as well. The big move at the moment is on housing and trying to identify and get government support for growth that will achieve the Wellington region requirements. The other one is on iwi capability, and we're looking at spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in conjunction with the government to ensure that Māori are able to and capable to sit on the plethora of committees that seem to be popping up everywhere that require their involvement. Sitting on that committee as well is representatives from Ngāti Kahungunu and Rangatahi, as well as all the other iwi in the Wellington region.
I don't know if it's on the, because they feel.
Their places sitting there unfilled, but they are there.
So it's just like settlement, settlement.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's the settlement trust that's sitting on there.
Right. Yeah.
So, if you've got any questions on what's happening at any stage, ask me. There's quite a bit going on.
Yeah.
They're also going to be doing they've done the regional growth plan, which will morph into the regional spatial plan that's going to be required as part of the changes in the RMA. So we're ahead of most other regions in New Zealand.
Thank you very much for that, Alex. Did anyone have any questions for me, Alex, about that? Everyone's okay? Great. Me, Alex, and Stefan, I know you were both going to be talking just because we're at the voting section and things in here now, but about two counterparts at NZTA and things around how we could look at putting in the roundabout. I just probably since the last time that we've met, there's been 2 serious incidents on the corner of State Highway 53 and Princess Street. I mean, one was just yesterday, I think, or the day before, but we all knew, you know, I guess that's the thing, we've all known and we're all asking, has there been any sort of movement with that or around the safety on State Highway 53? I've also had concerned parents come to me today about the pedestrian crossing by the council, where there's been near misses with children. And so
I think there's 2 parts to that. One is the NZTA and the other one is the council. Stefan, I don't mind talking about NZTA and Princess Street leading up to the square, if you want to talk about Tim and the roading team regarding that. So at the end of a month ago, 2 months ago, NZTA finalised their funding, and part of that was my suggestion to them that we look at low-cost, low-risk projects under $2 million and look at what we can do regarding the Princess Street. And I'm aware of every incident that's been going on there, and it seems to be, no matter how many signs you put up there, it's a constant problem, and I think the answer is going to have to be around that. The NZTA have indicated their funding is going backwards at a large rate, and they have no money. But I don't think that should stop them from their responsibilities in their Road to Zero to not look at a low-cost solution. What I would like to do is possibly, Madam Chair, invite NZTA to our next council meeting and for you to come and discuss with them about the local requirements on that state highway.
Right, yeah.
More reports. If she's there, you can speak to that along with Emma Spate, who's our regional president.
Right. Yeah, I'm absolutely will do that. Thank you very much.
I think it might add a different dimension to being just harping on the area about all the different projects we want on the South Wire application to our local focus.
Yeah, it's been actually I was shocked just to see the Road to Zero along here, State Highway 2 to 80 kilometres per hour, but then the new Waikato Expressway is getting 110 kilometre speed limit. So they seem to be 2 different things. Aidan, you had something?
Can I just comment on that? I think the NZTA is a bit stuck because they promised that they'd design the road to 110k speed limit before they went down their Road to Zero campaign. So now it's finished, they can't not.
Wow.
They just got to make this point, make sure that
Yep, Aidan?
So with regards to, sorry, Alex, is it the low cost, low risk options? Is it possible for council to price up or to work out what the cost would be of one of those roundabouts that Mel and I saw down at Gore, that Gore implemented as part of their Innovating Streets program? Because of something like that, I mean, I'd imagine that would be a low cost, and I'm wondering if we can show that, a picture of that in operation in Gore, and also show to what we could, sorry, I'll take it off.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But yeah, show an example of that, and if council's able to have priced that up, and then we present both those, the cost and the design to Waka Kotahi. Is that an option?
Was that on a state highway?
So, residential?
Yeah.
Well, it's still could have been.
The direction you take on a local road versus a state highway are two very different things. Look, I think you raise it, they know exactly the cost of a roundabout. They know the cost of it.
And we did hear that when we came and spoke, so as it's the service of what they were talking about millions.
No, that's on the state highway too, as opposed to 53. Right. And it's a reducing speed zone anyway. So what they're proposing for Nawata, for two roads of Carson, it's a very different scale and approach and vectors and projects and passing lanes and approaches. It's very, very different. I think we raise it with them, and they'll probably have a good covered cost for that type, but I think that we probably don't need to. And also, I think what any solution of a state highway is quite different to a state highway. Look, actually, in part of the presentation, Tina, perhaps you do put it along saying this is what we think.
Sorry, is it possible, Stephen, if you could perhaps talk to your counterpart in board just to find out what things were for that roundabout?
I think it'd be part of
Down there?
Which we probably see to find out.
How much would it be for that? Go through Official Information Act.
Sorry, Stefan, would you, sorry about that. Would you be able to talk to us about those?
Yeah, so look, before we dive into the detail of the nature of the roundabout on the state highway, just a couple of broader comments on the relationship with Waka Kotahi, and I think we would need to coordinate a little bit carefully before we brought them into a council meeting and raised sort of things with them that we wanted funded. And I just say that because there are a number of demands being made on Waka Kotahi at the moment by us. Very significant demands around things like Hinakura Road. There's an ongoing conversation about Cape Palliser Road and what kind of state that asset should be left in prior to being potentially handed back to council. There's an ongoing conversation about the bridge. There's a lot of different things that at the moment we're asking of Waka Kotahi. So I think as a larger organisation, including the community board, we would want to think about what our priorities are and just have a coordinated approach to that conversation. The other thing here is that for a while now, there's been a conversation going on about potentially stopping the highway at a point that could include that intersection, that troublesome intersection at Princess Street. That also comes into play, because if you saw a future where that might happen, you might not pay $500,000 for a roundabout. Then, of course, I can do a bit of due diligence on the cost of a roundabout on a state highway that isn't a very major arterial state highway. I'm happy to do that, but that's certainly not going to be top of my list for a little while. So if that's something that you want to charge me to do and you want me to use my time to do that, I can, but it will be, it'll be in slower time, to be honest with you. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that, Stephen. I think, we all, Hinakura is us. We're all Martinborough ward, and that's why that's so important to us. And you're absolutely right. It's certainly key and top of mind for us at the moment, the Hinakura residents, and helping them out.
Stephen, I have a chat. I think there's quite different funds we might be able to, but I'm taking the point, you don't want to be stepping on toes.
Absolutely.
Big amounts.
And not absolutely. Yeah. Look, I do have just going on and having a look at the program status for the. So this is Appendix 1, the Operations Project Dashboard, page 87. But this is actually page 88. On page 88, and we had an email just recently from Amanda about trying to keep grammar and those sorts of things, which I fully appreciate. However, I have asked over and over, and that hierarchy is shown, I guess, the respect of any church or any other type of place where it would not be, its name not changed to essentially a swear word. And so this is me saying it's time now that we actually stop and check and get that right. And if you need me to come in just to explain to someone about the importance and the difference of one letter in Te Reo Māori, and how it can take something of great mana, such as hauariki, and turn it into the toilet, I guess is probably one of the best ways to put it. So for myself, as hauariki is my marae, it's an inga hui whā marae. It's proud, and it holds mana in itself. If we can please make sure that the A and the U are the right way around any time that comes up. I'm sorry to raise it again and to actually, but I have to now, and I just need to say this is the time moving forward, because the other thing that's happened is Tauhera Niko is spelt wrong now as well. And it didn't used to be, but now it is. So it's Tauhera Nikua. And again, changes the name of the river completely. So, yeah.
You're talking page 82.
No, page 88.
88.
Yeah, so it's the operations project dashboard. And it's just sort of on that first page, it has a little rundown there. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's spelled correctly further up.
No, it doesn't.
It's not an 88. Yeah.
So, Chair, I offer my apologies again. I had carried that message back to the team, and we had corrected the spelling of Hauariki Marae to the correct Te Reo spelling in the body of the report. But unfortunately, that error is still contained in the directory. That's my fault. I will make sure I correct that. And apologies.
Thanks, Stephen.
And then, I see, Tauhara Nikau is Tauhara Nikua, which is also wrong. So we really need to get that right, and I'll pay extra attention to it from here on. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Stephen. Now, did anybody else have any more questions or anything in regards to the officer's report? No. Okay. Well, we'll move on then now to item 11.1, the chairperson's report. Do I have a mover to receive the report? Thank you, Councillor Colenso. And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Nathan. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Great, and the motion is carried. So I think we've actually, I think most of us were there last night for the Hinakura Road meeting. I think actually, Stefan, that was an excellent meeting. It was really well run. Congratulations. I just think it was, what I really loved was how much kindness was shown and understanding, and the fact that you do front and always, you make those commitments and yourself available to our community. And so thank you, Stefan. I just do want to say that as well. So yeah. Now, did anybody else want to sort of talk about the Hinakura Road meeting or anything from last night?
No, I just think if it can just be noted down that any information that is sent through to the Hinakura residents is also sent through to the Martinborough Community Board. As we saw, there were some people from Emerald Road here last night that advised they were getting information, so from Carlton, and possibly, if we know them, we may be able to help to just click, make sure they're in the loop, or things like that. It's just as the community board, those are the kinds of things that we can do. So please make sure that the information is where that the community boards always CC'd into any correspondence with the Hinakura residents, so we're all on the same page when they come and ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, Aidan?
Through you, Chair. One thing, Stefan, that I didn't mention last night, but within the next few years, one of those properties out on the Hinakura Valley, Kaikouri Station, which is 2,500 hectares of pine trees, they're going to start logging back. And I know from experience living out on the White Rock Road, the amounts of logging trucks that have been travelling that road for the last 2 or 3 years. I think in excess of, sometimes there's a dozen logging trucks a day going up that road. So I'm just, and hopefully it's already in line with WSP and Tim, but just hoping that, when the design work has been done for the new road, that it can be perhaps, future-proof to ensure that, with the upcoming hammering it's going to get from a large number of trucks within the next 10 years, that we can future-proof it to prevent any more reoccurrences.
It's a nod there.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I'll take that back to the team. I mean, the ambition that you would have heard last night is to build a permanent road that is capable of taking all traffic, including large articulated trucks, including logging trucks. And we're all aware of the destructive nature of large trucks, including logging trucks on unsealed rural roads and even sealed roads. But unsealed roads in particular are very, very vulnerable to being cut up and damaged significantly by those trucks. The road will be built to best practice, the sort of normal New Zealand road standards. But we'll do what we can, Aidan.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll get that in the design if we can, future proofing. Thank you.
Thanks.
So the other topic 2 was the Dark Sky Association, and that was just asking for a letter of support, which I have drafted, and I have there as appendix 1. So if just wondered if everyone was happy for me to send this letter off to the, as it, make any changes, if there's any changes, anyone think I've missed. Tried to catch up. I tried to keep it pretty much to what we all talk about with the dark sky and everything as well. So,
I'll support.
I'm okay with that.
Yep, I'll support that.
great, thank you very much. So, Katie, do we need to actually, I don't know, formalise the sending of the letter?
Yeah, so it's a bit unclear. As long as the board notes agreement, I think that that's fine. If it was something a little bit more controversial, then perhaps it would be good to have a formal resolution. But it's really up to you as the chair how you'd like to sort of formally document that. But I'm happy to just note it if everyone's okay.
Yep. No, that's perfect then. Yep. Great. Then I will share that with the as soon as possible. And then we've had the topic 3, the personal home care kits, where we met with Whai Sandy Ngamuki and Teresa Dawson at Hauriki Marae on the 21st of June. Now there was a lot of different organisations and things in attendance, which is truly to their credit of these two and how much work they've done and bringing so many people together. It was noted that we want to look after them, and they sort of said too right at the beginning that it would probably be a larger kaupapa than they would be wanting to even do themselves either. So it looks like, yeah, that's going to be moving forward now, and it hasn't stopped or anything. So just wanted to let everybody know that. And that just be did anyone have any questions for me about any of that? Okay. And so just then, as again, I just kept that on there about the Three Waters government reform. Is there anything other than, I mean, the fact, Stefan, it was of what you were telling us earlier about the Three Waters coming out to Parliament.
Thank you, Chair. Is this, just a question, is this likely to be a recurring item in the chairperson's report? Because if it is, I might prepare a little bit differently, or is it just, has it been of interest over the past couple of times and it might not appear again necessarily? Do
you know what it is that it's particularly at the beginning, it was such a big animal and it's been moving at pace. Right. So from the time I almost put my report in to the time that we have the meeting, sometimes there can be, you know, something big happening or something just that maybe our communities need to be aware of. But if there's nothing, maybe I could just leave that to you if there's something to update us on in Three Waters, even if that just sat under the officer's report, maybe.
Yeah, no, look, I'm happy to tell you what I know. Of course, the bill is still before Select Committee, and the public are to submit on the bill by the 22nd of July, at which time the submissions will close and Select Committee will make its hold its hearings and its deliberations, and then make any necessary amendments to the bill before it enters the House again. This bill is really the easiest of the legislation that's going through on this. Nevertheless, my understanding is most councils in New Zealand will be submitting, and that's a question for our council as well. And I'm sure the Mayor will be able to comment on that. Other than the bill, there is the deadline coming up for funding. Three Water funding, tranche 1 funding is available to councils now, and councils have until the 30th of September to apply for what's called Better Off funding. And so that's in play. And then otherwise, there's just this interminable process at multiple levels within the Three Water bureaucracy of discussing planning and transition and HR issues, the financial issues, the identification and value and transition of assets, the impact on the various sectors. I mean, it's you're very right, it's a sprawling, complex area that is quite hard to pin down. That's why I asked the question, really, because I could sort of prepare better if it was to be a regular feature of this meeting. But that's sort of, sorry, that's not very lucid. That's just a kind of my helicopter view of what's going on at the moment. But
No,
you might
great.
have.
Yeah, well, Madam Chair, if I can mention as well, look, there's a pretty good report in today's council meeting with a good overview if you want to look at that. Just to give you an idea on the submissions we are planning to submit as a council, separate from Wellington Water or the other Warwick councils. How are we going to do that in the process to get a cohesive submission? We're just working out over the next couple of days, Mary and I, to go to council and say, here's where we do a workshop, here's where we pass that this is a submission to put forward in time for that 24 p.m. or the 21st cut-off date.
First of July is the cut-off date to make a submission.
To put it.
Get on it tonight.
To have it there.
Yeah.
So we don't look
So
to.
every council will be probably submitting, apart from, if some in favour, the majority is sort of strong words, I would suggest.
Okay. No, that's great. Stephen, do you want me just to leave it as it is, like the way I do, sort of as the last thing in my chair report, and then, but it's not going to be a surprise, it's just going to be there. It's just for now. Thanks very much, Stephen. Appreciate that. Okay.
Aidan?
Oh, sorry, Aidan.
I would just like to say that, the information both Alex and Stefan have just given us has been a good update from my perspective. Because, I mean, for me, I see all the noise and see all the stuff in the media, and it's generally dealing with at the national level. But that rundown that you've just given us is focused on our council and our reality. So that's been great. Thanks.
I'd certainly endorse what Mayor Alex has said. The report that the CEO has done, council minutes is well worth looking at.
Thanks.
You'll probably drown it.
It's a good kind of breakdown. I mean, it's so massive. It's actually kind of like it is still, and even though the report is big, it's actually a lot more condensed. So it's it is a good overview.
We've had to employ someone to help us to drill down all the Wellington councils. Was it just the Warwick councils? Dougal has been helping us interpret and pull and combine all the information because it is so complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay. I think that, so that's everything from me in the chair report. So if I would now like to move that we move into public excluded for the reasons shown within our agenda. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Maynard. All those in favour, please say aye or raise your hand. Thank you. Then the motion is carried.
I'm just gonna log off of the YouTube here.